Since Rick did this, I better do it too. Thank you very much, Brent and Kai. It's a pleasure for me to be here. And thank you for taking the time to come out and hear from, I agree, Rick, some of the best candidates we have in this race. Why? Because we do go up to every event that we're invited to that we can make to try and earn your trust. And I think if there's some candidates in this race not prepared to come and speak to our members and seek your support, how are they later going to talk to Canadians to win back voters across the country, particularly here in the GTA? So once again, my name's Erin O'Toole, and I have the honor of being a member of Parliament in the Greater Toronto Area. There's not many of us left anymore, but I'm honored to represent my hometown. I grew up in Bowmanville, Ontario, just a little east of here, and now I represent the communities of Oshawa, Bowmanville, Port Perry, and many of our people produce the food that we eat here in the GTA, or they commute in and work in the city. So I'm a member of Parliament that has the experience understanding the needs of suburban and rural Ontario and of so many other parts of the country. When I graduated high school, I joined the Canadian Armed Forces and attended Royal Military College, and then I served across this country. I did basic training in British Columbia. I got my wings in the Air Force in Manitoba and lived there for a year. I did search and rescue duties in Ontario, and then I moved to Nova Scotia, where my helicopter crew sailed on the back of Navy ships. Not only did that give me an amazing appreciation for our country, I had the honor of serving alongside men and women from across this country who put the country before their own well-being. It was inspiring. And I had the privilege of going around the world with a little maple leaf on my shoulder. And I got to see the tremendous respect our country has from playing its role in the world, in security and trade, and being a part of making the world a better place. I was speaking with a few people here in the crowd tonight, and we're all now wearing Vimy pins. Vimy Ridge, on April 9th, it was 100 years ago that Canada, as a new country, just 50 years old, took Vimy Ridge at a high cost to our country, but it showed that from our earliest days, Canadians believed in being active in the world and playing our fair share, alongside our allies and alongside the values we have as a country. So I'm the candidate in this race with the military experience, with the corporate experience. I worked on Bay Street for many years as a lawyer at some of our largest law firms, and then in North Toronto I worked for Procter & Gamble. So if you shave with Gillette or you use a Swiffer in your house, you've bought something from Procter & Gamble. And you know what? We were the largest employer, private sector, in Eastern Ontario. And so I've worked firsthand with manufacturers struggling with the high cost of Kathleen Wynne and Dalton McGuinty's power rates. I've worked with a manufacturer that has to trade into the U.S. and can't afford a carbon tax or a cap and trade that will make them uncompetitive versus plants in the United States producing products. And then I was elected to be the Member of Parliament for my hometown in 2012. And each year, Prime Minister Harper asked me to do more. In my first full year as an MP, he asked me to be the Parliamentary Secretary for Trade. We got the European trade deal done. We got our first free trade deal with Asia done, with South Korea, and I went to Seoul to meet with their elected representatives to get that deal done. We got the Foreign Investment Protection and Promotion Agreement with China done, making sure that our exporters have the ability to trade more and to have disputes settled in a way that makes sure there's a win for both countries. And then, in my last year, I got the privilege of being a minister in cabinet and being given a portfolio of Veterans Affairs and having to turn it around with knowledge, with building a good team, and with communicating. We have to communicate better as a party. In the GTA, in the Greater Vancouver area, in Atlantic Canada, where I served in the Canadian Forces. Et comme mes amis, je parle français aussi. J'ai appris mon français dans la Force armée canadienne. I learned my French in the military. It's not quite as charming as Rick's, that's for sure. It's military French. Bowmanville French. But I do think, I agree with my colleagues, it's important for us to reach out and speak to people and to meet with people in their communities, much like we're doing here. And keep track who came here asking for your support. Because if they didn't come and ask Conservatives for their support, will the candidates be here to ask people that didn't vote for us for their support? So I'll wrap up. While I was a business person, at the Albany Club in Toronto, I once had the honor of, there was a business luncheon talking about increasing trade between Canada and China, and I had the honor of helping organize that lunch, and I had the duty of introducing the ambassador from China at the time. And I used my favorite proverb that day, and I'm going to use it to illustrate why I'm in politics. And the proverb is, one generation plants the trees so the next generation can walk in the shade. That is why I'm in politics. And I'm sure it's why my colleagues are. I want to make sure we make the right decisions for that young lady's future, for my 10-year-old daughter Molly's future, and for their children's future. You do the hard work now so we can prosper. What do we have with Justin Trudeau? $30 billion deficit, higher taxes, less safe communities. He's legalizing marijuana without even a plan. He wants it done by Canada Day, so there can be a big party. We're losing employment to the United States. We're pulling out of the fight against ISIS. All of these things make my daughter and son's future less certain and certainly less prosperous. $100 billion of debt and no jobs is not sunny ways. So Mr. Trudeau says one thing and then does another. So in this race, I'm asking for your support. I have more support from Conservative members of our caucus, from British Columbia through to Quebec, than any other candidate. And in Atlantic Canada, where we have no MPs, the PC leader of Nova Scotia and the former Premier support me. Why? Because they know I can beat Justin Trudeau. With a positive vision, conservative principled vision for our future, so that our children and grandchildren can walk in the shade of the Conservatives' work today. I need your support. Thank you very much.
Thanks, John. It's good to see you again. Listen, I like Michael a lot. He's a great candidate, very experienced. There's two big things I disagree with him on. One, his carbon tax. I don't like the carbon tax. Second is free membership. And I've said, if something has no value, you won't value it. I'd like to go down to $10 maybe, but I do think that the Conservative Party, unlike the Liberals, which really just want power, they don't have really any principles, they don't really stand for anything, they shift and move around. We generally have some principles. We support risk-taking, we support entrepreneurs, small business. We like to see smaller government. We don't like to see waste. We like to see lower taxes for people. We like to see safe communities. That's why we're very worried about Trudeau's reckless plan on marijuana. No plan, really. We like to see a strong military and defense for our country at home, our borders. We want to see our borders enforced, and we want to see Canada play a role in the world. So there's a lot of different Conservatives. I'm very fortunate. I've got Red Tories in Atlantic Canada helping me. I've got prominent social conservatives helping me because they know I'm a uniter and that I can win. And I think within that family, there are some principles. Now, young people. I'm the person with the plan in the race for young people. It's called Generation Kickstart. And the young people here, if I can win with your help, Generation Kickstart will help them because they're facing the highest debt levels. They're facing the worst employment prospects in 50 years and the highest cost of housing and rental properties in GTA and in Vancouver in history. And what has Trudeau said? Just get used to it. Get used to job churn. I'm going to raise the exemption level from $11,000 tax exemption personal to $33,000 for young people for their first 3 years out of college or university. That'll let them get their debt down. That'll let them invest in a small business or get out of the parents' basement. If they're in a very high demand trade or skill or profession, computer animation, engineering, actuarial sciences, people that we're losing to the United States, and we'll lose more and more of them because Mr. Trump will lower taxes in the US. We're going to see Chrétien-like brain drain. I'm going to increase that tax exemption period to 5 years. And I'm going to empower a startup culture for young people to work with. So I think we can appeal to younger voters on issues that they see the Conservative Party communicating for them. That will affect people. And after 3 more years, they'll say, what do selfies with Justin Trudeau get me when I've got $50,000 in debt and no opportunity? The Conservatives, that new leader, that O'Toole guy, he doesn't look younger than Justin Trudeau, but he's actually a year younger than Justin Trudeau. This is what a life of hard work gives you, right? But he's speaking to my needs. And John, if 15 to 20% more millennials vote for us, a modest number, we win the next election on ideas, on conservative ideas. Check out my plan at erinO'Toole.ca. Great question, Susan, and I mentioned the border in my last remarks. The GTA is an example of immigration run well because people play by the rules. We have rules for immigration, for refugees, and Canadians are fair people. Our systems work well when the rules are followed. Mr. Trudeau is allowing people to jump ahead of the line by allowing them to just walk over the border in Manitoba. That's not playing by the rules. And I think Canadians think it's reasonable and fair to have rules. I've called for those rules to be enforced. Not with silly ideas like Mr. Bernier said, put the military at the... I was in the military, that's not their role. I've said if they're coming over the border in Manitoba, let's put a temporary border until they stop. Once we enforce the border, and they know we will, the trail of them will stop. And they can follow the rules like everyone. That's fair. I think Canadians are with us, but we have to communicate it in a way that brings people together. There's some in this race, they're not here tonight, but they're communicating in a way that will divide Canadians. I think we can do this in a way that's fair and reasonable.
So staying or you have any spare time, there is a by-election going on in Markham Thornhill. We can use some